Justice for all. Marissa, if you could please call the roll.
John Pickledy,
Present.
Richard LaRufa,
Here.
Michael Leondi,
Here.
Richard Rawbacker,
Here.
Mark Scott,
Here.
Len Antoneri,
Here.
Chairman Kenneth Larry,
Here.
Glenn Keynes.
Here. We have one resolution to be memorialized. It's the Glenn Merciarowski application that was decided on June 12, 2024 for appeal of zoning permit decision. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second, please. Any discussion? Marissa, please call the roll.
Wait, this is what, this was to. Resolution.
That was with the door application, Mark, if you recall.
This is the thing about the door. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Marissa, you could call the roll.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Richard Rawbacker,
Yes.
and Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Tonight's agenda is the.
Hold on. Mark, do you think you're supposed to be voting on this, or you okay? Okay. Okay, I wasn't sure. You were kind of looking a little quizzical. Okay, good. Sorry, Ken.
That's because he's a Purdue graduate. They tend to look that way.
And for the public, tonight's agenda is the following. We have the Nancy Novares, Kara Johnson continuing application carried from June 12th, 2024 meeting. Then we'll have the Main Street Creations LLC application. After those applications, we'll open to the public for comments and issues that are not on the agenda tonight. And also, no new testimony or business conducted with any of these applications after 9:30 PM. And we also adjourn at 10 PM sharp. So the first application, a continuous, Nancy Novares and Kara Johnson. Mr. Lynch, if you want to come forward, please. And also, as usually, let's make sure the microphones pick up all the conversation. It's a state requirement that we have recordings for each application. Mr. Lynch, too, before you begin, hopefully, you can continue from where we left off at the last meeting in regards to responding to the objectors' comments and issues. You don't have to rehash the whole application. We realize you're here for C variance relief for your applicants. And then if it's okay, Glenn, can we have the objectors, once Mr. Lynch makes his opening statement, to come up and they can?
What I would suggest is the answer is yes, but I think there might be an easier way to proceed, Mr. Chairman. I suspect that counsel has a little bit of testimony, he may not, to put in the record. We don't have to redo anything, as you said, and certainly the adjoining property owners don't have to redo anything. So my suspicion and my hope is that this is a very expeditious hearing because it's only a C variance for fences. You're either going to allow the fence for what they're applying for or you're not. That's the application before you. So you all have to figure it out, but we don't need to rehash anything. You've all read the record. Now, who's eligible to vote on this tonight? John, you missed it, right?
Yep.
Everybody else was here though, I think, correct?
Right, yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But John can certainly participate, all your little heart desires. You just don't get a chance to vote.
And Mr. Lynch, for the record again, as we noted the last time, it's a Lake Mohawk application, and I think you had mentioned that you and your clients would not object from any member sitting on this board hearing the application, correct?
Correct.
Let the record note that then. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, as we all heard last month, this is an application. My clients, applicants have received a fence permit for a fence extending to the front yard, and the application just seeks to have the fence panels extend to 6 feet with 100% coverage for the interest of increased privacy. And that's all. have the different directions, but since he didn't get to testify last week, I would just like to have Mr. Johnson, on behalf of the applicants, just briefly testify.
What else is he going to add to it, Mrs. Johnson, since they're both your clients?
He would just like to further brief testimony as to the reasons for privacy.
Okay.
Want to swear him in?
Sure,
if
raise
you
your
don't
right hand,
mind?
sir. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God? What is your name, sir?
My name is Larry Johnson.
Larry, just, you got to talk a little bit louder to make sure that Marissa can pick you up. Okay,
I'll bring out the colonel voice.
okay.
You can,
Mike, I think the mic is right there.
Yeah.
The mic is on the table. All right, counsel, what else does he have to tell the board?
Mr. Johnson, can you briefly explain the reasons why additional privacy panel is necessary for your property?
Okay, first of all, let me build my credibility.
Sir,
I'm a retired full colonel.
sir, that doesn't have anything to do with it. This is a zoning board. Just give the testimony and answer the questions. Okay?
I just have one question for you, why I was not allowed to testify last time, but that's okay. Privacy, all right? How would you feel if every time you walked out your front door, you were filmed with audio? How would you feel if every time you walked out your porch to even have a cup of coffee in the morning, you were filmed with audio? How would you feel? Do you like to grill? I love to grill. Okay, how would you feel if every time you had your grill, you had flashing lights on if it was nighttime? They can even tell what sort of food you were cooking. That's what we're looking at right now, all right? That is my testimony.
all right,
Privacy.
thank you, Mr. Johnson.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Look, that's it there again. Good job.
And then, anything else, Mr. Lynch, before we get to the final
yes,
statement?
just as a brief rebuttal testimony as to some of the testimony Ms. Novaez heard last week, she would just like to provide just a little additional testimony.
Should I talk about the fence or
The
last
the
week?
reasons for the offense.
The reasons for the fence. Our original.
Ma'am, I'm going to remind you, you're still under oath, okay? And just identify yourself for the record?
Nancy Novaez.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
I'm married to him. I just.
We figured
share
that
the
out.
Same last name. I had a career under.
We
one
figured
name.
that out.
Okay. Our original request was for a privacy fence to 12 feet beyond the house foundation. Now I am requesting an additional 8 feet beyond that to go from 12 feet beyond the foundation, if possible, to 20 feet beyond the foundation. That's still plenty of room left for a picket fence. Lake Mohawk is a very unique community, very special to those of us who live here. We want to preserve the nature and the architecture that creates its character. Springbrook Trail is one of the oldest streets. Some of the houses, all the houses are quite a mix of styles, but some of the houses are one on top of another. That is our situation between 54 and 56. The purpose of this hearing is to determine not whether we have a fence, but what kind. Presumably, this determination is based upon two issues: appearance and safety. First, let me touch on the safety issue. As you well know, I'm sure, the regulations say that any fence that you have has to stop 25 feet short of the center line. Not a problem, and we are going to stop well short of that limit. The regulation requires that setback. This accommodates the visibility for the safety of pulling in and out of the driveway. We plan to, that's regardless of the fence height. We plan to top the end of the fence line by a post that can be seen, regardless of fence height. If we finish the fence with a 4-foot fence, we're going to need a post so we can see it when we back in. We're on a hill. So looking out the back window, it might be a little hard to see 4-foot fence, so we want to put a post that will make sure that we don't hit our own fence. The second issue is appearance. Despite exposure to the street, this is our side yard. A privacy fence is neither intrusive nor unattractive in this position. In fact, it's rather necessary in this day and age of intense surveillance and so-called security cameras. The houses on our Our own driveway and walkway combination is our only entrance to our house and yard. We sit in a pit. So we need the driveway and sufficient space for a walkway. We're both in our 70s and we have each been carried out of the house via gurney. So we have to make sure that we have emergency access when our cars are parked there. I've lived next to renters for 17 of the 24 years that I've been here. Some renters come to this property jealously eyeing my driveway, seeming to believe that I had no right to that much space. One tried to store a boat. Another ran a part-time landscaping business out of my driveway. These were short-term problems that I managed to settle amicably. Recent owners attempted a land grab by building a fence more than a foot over our property line, then calling the police with false claims of harassment when I wrote a letter requesting they remove it. It took action by Sparta Zoning, Andrew Coccio, to get them to move the fence. However, there remains some baggage over the property line that's been obscured from view by tarps. I've been marking the property line because of the disparity between the walkway and the driveway since 2015. It's marked along the lines of the latest survey. It was clearly marked when the latest owners purchased 54 Springbrook Trail. By their own admission, they bought 54 Springbrook Trail without an inspection and without a survey. Now, we're happy when someone buys a property and fixes it up. That helps everybody. The intention may be to flip it for a profit. That's fine with me, as long as they make an improvement. I think it's unfair, however, when someone attempts to flip a property, selling rights to our property along with their own. Now, we don't know what the new owner has in mind for 54 Springbrook. It won't know until after August 1st when the property closes. It is ideal as a rental. It's also ideal as an Airbnb, although I realize there's now a 28-day limit. We need as much privacy as possible to protect against the kinds of things that we've been going through. We want to spend our retirement here without further harassment and in the privacy of our own home and property. The owner to be a 54 Springbrook also favors the privacy fence up to that second post, as do the departing owners, if you recall Ms. Sirico's statement at 2 hours, 21 minutes into the June 12th meeting, quote, "I'm for it, absolutely," unquote. Please take the time to consider only two issues at stake: appearance and safety. I hope you'll agree with us that privacy, as well as part of the appearance, and appearance is enhanced and appropriate for both properties. We'd like the privacy fence to extend 20 feet beyond our foundation and a decorative pole to mark the position of the fencing. Again, we can finish the fence if there's with 4-foot picket beyond that point, but we would prefer to have a decorative pole to mark that 4-foot picket so we can safely back in. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Nancy. Anything else, Mr. Lynch?
We have nothing else.
Now, Glenn, should we first go over David's report with the applicant before we get back to the objectors?
Mr. Chairman, I think that makes sense. I understand that Dave may have taken another look at this and may have some additional information for the boards. So I think that would be helpful,
Thank
sir.
you. Okay, David.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, I was not at the last meeting, so if I'm redundant, please bear with me. But I did prepare a report dated May 21st, 2024, and in that report, I looked at the information that the applicant did submit.
Excuse me, David, do you have that, Mr. Lynch, with you? So you can go
Yes,
over
I have a copy
point
with
by
me. I'm
point.
just looking to find it.
You need a copy of?
The May 21st, David Simmons report.
Yes. And basically, with regards to the variances, they are in the R3 residential zone. They're requesting a variance for a 6-foot-high privacy fence and 13 feet of the front yard where 4-foot-high fence is allowed, as the applicant indicated. Again, they're proposing a solid fence rather than the limit of 50% solid fencing. And at the end of the driveway towards Springbrook Trail, my understanding is they're proposing a 6-foot-high decorative pole, so when they go to back their car in, as shown on the picture that I took and attached to my report, they've got something to aim for that they can see. Under miscellaneous, I included a copy of that photo. Some of the posts have already been installed, as I noted. I didn't see any interference with any utilities that are on the site that I could tell. The boundary survey of 56 Springbrook Trail did not identify the location of any underground utility lines, but I did notice that there's a gas meter on the northerly side of the home. The utility line should be marked to make sure there's no conflicts with the proposed fence construction. Obviously, they've got to call the 1-800 call before you dig number before they did any construction. And the one other question that I had for the applicant, on the decorative pole that would be closest to Springbrook Trail, would there be a light?
No, I wasn't planning. The only kind of light I'd even consider putting on there would be something solar and not too bright,
Okay, just to mark it.
just a marker.
Okay. And again, Mr. Chairman and board members, I included a copy of the photo that I took when I visited the site, and I was able to find the capped survey points for the property corners while I was out there on the site. And again, just by visual appearance, it looked like the proposed posts that are constructed were on the applicant's side of that property. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I think, Glenn, should we have our board members that have any questions to present them now or wait until after the objector's testimony again?
It's up to you. It might be, you've already heard it, so it might be, unless there's something burning coming up, I would just hear from the public and just, you have a question,
I have
Rich?
one quick question.
I'll never tell Rich not to.
Only, the applicant tonight has said that she would like to extend it even further.
Further.
Now, is that further than where the posts are shown on your photograph? I'm confused now as to how far
think he was-
forward the fence is going to come.
You were saying 20, how many feet now, Nancy?
Well, the original request was for 12 feet beyond, which was the first empty post. Now we're asking for 20
20.
feet beyond, which includes both posts,
As shown in this picture.
as shown in that picture. That's as far as it would go. Any further fencing, we'd put in the 4-foot picket. But that's another reason that I want the decorative pole, because it's hard to see a 4-foot picket out your back.
So is the last post that's going to be put in the one that's shown in the photograph now, or is there going to be additional posts closer to the street?
If I put in a picket fence, the last post of the picket fence would be taller. Doesn't have to be 6 feet, just tall enough to view out the back window.
I don't think
That
that's
is as
answering his
far as the
question.
privacy fence would go by my request.
Rich, did that answer? I didn't get the answer to the
Yes,
question.
another, well, I'm going to install more fence.
So you're talking about putting a full panel to the posts that are shown in Dave's photograph,
And only that far.
and then adding another post.
Further down, because we have 9 more feet to go, and I'd like to add the picket fence from that last post to the post that we're talking about, a decorative post.
So the decorative post would be how close to the road? At the edge of the road? Are you-
Yeah, 20, no, more than 25 feet. It's more like 28 feet from the center line of the roadway.
I don't think the road was that wide, but.
No, it's not that wide, but
Okay.
Good.
Do you have any comments on that, Dave?
No, I did notice when I was out on site, it doesn't show up in the picture because it's towards the bottom, but where my recollection is, where I saw the surveyor's corner marker, it was closer to Springbrook Trail than the closest post in this picture. So I believe there's probably room for the way the applicant's describing it.
Okay. The other item that was brought up at the last meeting was whether or not you had gotten approval from Lake Mohawk
yes, and
Country
I
Club
did. I've
in
spoken with
writing.
Sabine, she's fine. I have the letters. It was included in your packet.
You have a copy of that, Maurice?
No, I didn't get a letter for that. I got just the original letter.
Counsel, you gotta, anything like that's gotta be made part of the file.
I thought they were.
I just got the original letter that when you first applied for it. I didn't get the new.
What's the date on the letter you're looking at, Council?
December 28, 2023.
Right, look at that, please. I have. When I go. I would have to go pull it in my office because I'm not sure if this is the exact one I got before when they did the
Okay,
application.
and that letter says what?
You want to read it?
Letters regarding 56 Springbrook Trail fence plan revised. Fencing plan submitted by Sparta Township zoning permit 23-494 is approved by this office with the conditions listed in the permit as well as the provision of any chain link fence installation.
Marissa, then you could call on the board members before we get to the objectors for any questions that they will have.
Michael Leondi,
No other questions, thanks.
Richard Rawbacker.
I've got a couple of questions that go back a bit, and I'm not quite sure who I need to address them to. I don't know whether Mr. Simmons, Mr. Kynes, or the applicant, or the objector.
Well, Rich, get to the questions, and then we'll figure it out who's going to
Okay.
answer them.
I just want to get this out there. It was stated that this area of Springbrook Trail is one of the oldest areas in Lake Mohawk. And the driveway is common, Siamese, is another way to describe it, I suppose, between 56 and 54. My question is, how long has that driveway been a common driveway between the two properties?
Shall I answer?
I don't care who answers.
No, not yet.
It is not a common driveway. The house at 54 is not zoned for a driveway. Apparently, that lot was truncated when the house that I live in, 56, was built. My house was built in 1948. The 54-foot lot is 60 feet wide. That includes approximately 8 foot of walkway on that side, on the side of the house that is abeam my driveway. But it is not a shared driveway. It
It's
never
not
has
a
been.
common driveway,
It's not a common
according to
driveway.
your testimony.
Correct. It is not a common driveway.
My question's going to have to wait for the second half of the answer for the objector. So I'm
Okay,
going to
Richard.
come back to this question. That's kind of key to my decision.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Go ahead, Marissa, for the rest of the board, please.
Mark Scott.
Hi, Dave, could you tell me if, is there any safety risk with, having this fence that high, pulling out?
I think the particular discussion that you've had, as I understand it, plus tonight, they're keeping the fence back far enough so that when the vehicle gets to within so many feet of the edge of the pavement of Springbrook Trail, their sight distance isn't blocked by the fence. That's the key thing right there.
And the fence in your picture is at 8 feet tall, correct?
6.
6.
And they want to extend.
These are posts. I didn't measure them. I'd say they're approximately 6 foot tall, maybe a little bit more.
And you want to go to 12 feet tall?
No,
No,
6.
no. You're thinking
12 feet beyond?
You're thinking vertically, I'm thinking horizontally.
Okay.
The 12-foot limit was my initial request. Now I'm asking for 20 feet horizontally, 6-foot limit. Any further fencing, and I still have plenty of room left for more fence, will be picket and 4-foot only. And it will be back 25 feet from the center line, well, actually 28 feet from the center line.
And Dave, do you know, or how can we find out, is the property next door, is that zoned for a driveway? I mean, does zoning cover driveways?
I really wasn't furnished any information on the property next door, so I can't answer that, really.
Okay.
That was come from Mr. Cochio. Andrew Cochio said that, told us that the house was next, at 54 was not zoned for a driveway. Hence, we have our fence permit.
Thank you, Mark.
Landon Tenieri,
I don't have any questions at this time.
Chairman Kenneth Lowry.
None at this time, Marissa.
Okay.
Now we can get to the objectors,
The
Glenn,
public-
and then, David, would you mind coming up and sitting at that desk there for the moment, because the two objectors will have to come in, so if you don't mind, I appreciate
Not a
it.
problem. Not a problem, Mr.
Come
Chairman.
on, Dave, I'll clean up here. Make some room for Davey.
Thank you, David. Objectors, you can come forward, even though you were sworn in at the last meeting. If you can reiterate your names and addresses to the secretary again. At this table, you can sit there, please. And again, your names and addresses to our secretary.
Natasha Soreko, 54 Springbrook Trail, Fast. Where does it go?
And your name too, to the secretary.
My name is Anthony Totoro,
Tell them the address.
54 Springbrook Trail.
All right, if you can please state your objections to,
Well, objections that we haven't heard yet. You
yes,
don't have to go
new
through-
objections.
Yeah, what else do you have?
I
And that's it.
understand.
Not to rehash the old objections from
I
the last meeting.
Clearly understand what you were saying. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for letting me come over here because I can't reach that microphone. Much appreciated. I don't need to stand up, do I? Can you hear me properly this time? No. Yes. Okay. First of all, I did have an inspection.
Move the mic a little
Yeah,
closer.
can you
to
move
her,
that
please,
closer,
Anthony?
Natasha? We have to get the recording of everything.
Okay. Sorry, I had to take quite a few notes.
That's better.
There you go. In regards to Mr. Johnson's testimony, that is all completely false. My lights go off when they come to the center of the fence, and they were put there after the vandalism, which I showed you the pictures of all the spray painting of my posts and everything. They don't go off when he goes to his grill. I don't know when he goes to his grill, to be honest with you. I did get an inspection, and I was provided a report, a survey report that showed the lot. Now, I asked my questions when I bought the house. Obviously, you don't go buying a house without asking all these important questions. And it was explained that when Lake Mohawk was built in, I think, 1923, everybody was given a lot. And that lot, the houses were built on it, and you had your driveway. And my house was built in 1945. Therefore, I believe Ms. Noves said hers was built afterwards. And I did ask that question if the driveway had been shared the entire time. And I was told yes. I was very cognizant of the fence that was already there, made sure, and the cones that were already there, and made sure. And I provided you pictures. You didn't have them last time, so I did bring you copies in case you needed them. You did say that you were going to send everybody out to take a look.
Well, we didn't say that. We said that the board, it would be a good idea for the board to take a
go.
look.
The
And
reason-
It would also be a good idea for Mr. Simmons to just take a look if he had a chance. That's all.
Okay, because as you're all aware, I've told you myself, and I do have a lot of security cameras, and I was waiting for people to come along. You can see that since this fence has been erected, 1 foot over from the existing fence that they have, it's impeded my use of part of the driveway that I bought the house at, as it was listed. So you know that I have an objection with it. For that reason, we both have trucks. I think it's quite interesting that they know a closing date that I don't even have on a house. But unfortunately, before we go any further, I do think you guys should know that due to further actions, and I am prepared this time, this has actually escalated to torturous interference, and Ms. Novetta, Mr. Les.
I'm going to try and help you out. Mr. Go ahead.
Natasha, maybe from the technical side of your objections versus the animosity of both sides, if you can get more technical
Okay, well, this is
reasons.
technical.
Go ahead,
It
Glenn,
provides
sorry.
everything you need.
Well, hold on.
sorry.
I'm not so sure that the board needs it or even wants it.
It has,
Here,
sorry, Mr. Kynes, I apologize.
What the board needs to hear is why you object. What's going on between you folks as adjoining property owners is not of a concern to the board. What is a concern of the board is whether or not it should be granting the variance relief for the fence as proposed by the applicant. What the board wants to hear is why you don't think it should grant the variance. And quite frankly, what doesn't enter into the board's consideration, and the board knows this, but I'll just remind you all, it's not personal. It's not personal to who owns one house and who owns the other. As Dave would lecture you and as I would lecture everyone, what happens is any variance that's granted runs with the land. So if you sell your house tomorrow, you sell a house tomorrow, it doesn't make any difference what is going on personally. It's whether or not the fence meets the criteria that you need to get the C variance relief that's necessary. That's the concern of the board.
Okay, thank you. However, the request is built on quite a few lies regarding my driveway. It is a driveway. I have,
Jack, there's no lie.
excuse me, you objected last time. I'm opposing. This is my due process, and I have every right.
Excuse me. First off, you don't address each other. You only address it through the chair, or if the chair allows me, but I'm only his assistant. You have to address everything through the chair.
You have to keep it technical, like the attorney said, with the C variance request. We could stay here all night with the animosity, and I assume like you showed all the pictures the last time. This can go on forever, but as we stated, the variance, if approved, will go to the land, not the applicant. If it's not approved, so be it, but we can't stay here all night going back and forth with this since it's just a simple C variance relief application.
That, Mr. Laurie, I do understand. However, my house has a driveway, and here on my survey, and a letter that was sent to Ms. Novus, by Ms. Novus, to the owner of the Realtor, claiming misrepresentation. It cost me a fortune in lawyers, by the way, to sort this out. It clearly states on my survey, gravel driveway. I bought it with a driveway. So my problem is you are being presented with evidence to get what she wants, which I told you was a last-ditch attempt to impede me using the driveway. And I've told you multiple videos of it saying that my driveway is on my leach field, which if you all live in Sparta, you know you can't park on a leach field. So it's not true.
All right, let me hit your pause button for a second, if it's all right, Ken. Mr. Simmons, you were out there. Did you come up with any conclusion as to where the driveways are? I mean, certainly, apparently, from what you said, you saw an iron pin in the ground, Dave, right?
When I was out visiting the site, shown on the picture that I attached to my May 21st, 2024 report, there was a vehicle backed in on the applicant's property, and there was also a vehicle backed into a portion of a driveway on the objector's property. So there's a gravel driveway basically on both lots.
Okay, and there was no evidence, was there, of, and maybe it's out there, I don't know, was there any evidence of an easement or something else that would have transcended what the property line is? There was nothing in the file that you saw, was there, Dave?
Not that I received, and as I said, I did find a couple of the property corners that were staked by the applicant surveyor, and that was approximately right along the line of the posts that are shown in that photo.
Okay.
Could I please give this to you? Because it clearly states gravel driveway and marks out the lot. And these untruths that are being said are going to help you decide. So they need to be cleared up. It's not an animosity. I've tried to ignore this for 18 months. This is the truth.
Take a breath.
But now-
You want to submit, I'm sorry, Ken.
Would you submit that then, so?
I think Dave should take a look.
Yeah,
If that's a survey,
exactly.
we could mark it as public one.
Please bring it forward to our attorney,
I
he'll mark
have
it.
copies for all of you.
To the attorney, please, Natasha, he'll mark him.
No, you're not being picked up. So don't talk because we won't get you. Dave has been reading these since he was a pup.
Gravel driveway.
All right, Dave, why don't we make that the official copy and we'll just mark.
Because I'd like you to see the letter that was sent to the real.
Easy, you're not being, anything you're saying, you're not being picked up. I'm going to mark it as N1 for neighbor. And I'm going to give this to Dave so you can digest it. And she said she had others. These are all the same, ma'am?
Yes, yes, but I did
Just
bring
handed
you.
me, hold on.
I
She just
apologize.
handed me 2
No, there should be
or 5
six.
copies here.
Okay.
And I gave one to Dave.
Oh.
So I'll share with Dave and you guys will have to share down there. We're good. We all get along. Okay. Are there enough for down there?
Yep, we're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So, how I bought my driveway, my house was with a driveway for 2 cars, the width of a car. Now, Sabine, I've spoken to her since that letter, and she told me that the Sparta zoning supersedes HOA rules. And Mr. Kynes, I do remember last time I talked about bias. I have had bias with the HOA. I've spoken to Sabine about this, and she told me that not to worry, and so did Andrew, that Sparta zoning supersedes the HOA. I had a discussion with the buyer, not quite buyer yet due to interference, but the buyer just 2 days ago after the letter that is attached to that. And he had also called Sparta himself. So he is under the impression that the Sparta zoning has the final say. So that's where I'm getting to with the fact that now my neighbours have met all 4 of the needs for the tortious interference, which will be being filed. So my way is that should you not hear the truth and see the truth, and you decide that this fence, which will impede my use of the driveway, it already is in the back. Sorry, what was your name, sir?
Mr. Simmons.
Mr. Simmons, if you saw my car, you would have seen that now, with that fence a foot over from their existing fence, I cannot exit and enter my vehicle, pull back by the house like it was sold to me. That driveway has always been shared, and when this issue started, the conversation, when I wanted to put up a fence, I was told by Andrew, I can't pronounce his last name, sorry, that it was a shared driveway. According to my neighbour, it was a shared driveway and I couldn't have one. And so I had to take my deed in to prove that it had been used as a shared driveway and always used as a shared driveway. But I just wanted a small fence to protect my car due to the incessant need to park on the property line and me not be able to use the driveway. That's all this boils down to. Now, when it comes to the decorative post, that also will be an issue for me backing in. And if this next sale falls through due to interference, like the last 3, I will be moving back in. And as I said last time, between us, we have 5 children that drive. And we both own trucks. So I will be using my driveway and the road. So it needs to, and if you change my house the way I bought it, and that as it's being sold, you're leaving me open and the realtor open to lawsuits, which then come back on the town. Because that's how I bought my house and that's how I put.
Hold it, Mr. Lynch, you'll have your chance for a rebuttal.
I'm just saying it would leave me open, which the letter from the neighbour clearly states that, and now the realtors are having to involve their own lawyers. So I'm not bringing this on. I'm bringing what was brought to my attention.
All right, let me ask you a question. Dave, do you have anything?
Just referring to Exhibit N1 that Mr. Keynes marked, and just so for the record, it's entitled Survey of Property, Tax Lot 17, Block 5040, 54 Springbrook Trail, Township of Sparta. It was a survey prepared by Lakeland Surveying, and it's dated
September 25th.
5th, 2023. It does say gravel driveway. The words gravel driveway are labeled on the applicant side of the common property line. The limits of the gravel driveway appear to be shown based on what I saw in the field and is on this survey map by a short dash line. And that short dash line also extends onto your property, a relatively narrow width over to what's labeled as a block wall. Now, I should point out that under the notes, it said notes field survey performed on September 21st, 2023, subject to documents of record, survey performed without the benefit of a complete title search and subject to municipal restrictions, easements of record, and other facts that a title search may disclose. Now, the reason I bring that up, it does say gravel driveway on the applicant's side of the common property line. There is a dash line that I take to indicate the limits of the gravel, both on the applicant and your properties. I don't see anything on here, looking at it quickly, that says it's a quote-unquote common driveway.
As in shared, when you say common?
Beg your pardon?
You mean as in shared, when you say common driveway, are you implying shared driveway? Because I asked why it was written there, and he said, so I could see my entire space.
Yeah, I was just looking for a recorded easement or document in
Yes.
a particular book and page in the county clerk's office that would indicate that it was in fact recorded that way. I don't
Okay.
see it on this survey. I'm not saying it does or doesn't exist. It's just not on the survey.
Well, the surveyor didn't find it, and that would be something that they should have done if they did it correctly.
Yes.
In going out to see it. So I think, Dave, correct me if I misunderstood you. I think what you're saying is that lot 17 for the neighbor's property here, if in fact it was to be a quote shared driveway, there should have been some kind of document, some kind of easement, some kind of something that allowed them to use some of lot 18.
That's what I would have assumed, yes.
And the reverse of that is that there could be a document that encumbers lot 18 and says that, they have the right, they have an easement to come across part of your property too. So it could be on either side of the boundary line. Do you
Yes.
agree with that?
Yes, but
Okay.
it's not shown here.
And nobody's providing a copy of that to us, neither the applicant nor the neighbor.
Not that I've seen.
Okay, sorry, I got lost in all the technicalities there.
No, I really wanted to, Dave keeps it very, very clear and
Yes.
simple. That's what I love about this guy. But the bottom line is, it appears that there's no easement on this side to allow them to come and use some of the stuff on the left side, on the applicant side, just as the applicant didn't produce anything indicating that there's an encumbrance on theirs that requires them to keep it open for the adjoining property owner. That, it really seems to me to be that simple. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying we don't have it.
How do we go forward with that, Glenn, in terms of,
Counsel, did you do title work on your property? Did you do any title work?
Not for this application, but Ms. Navias may have something to say as to that.
Well, she's not licensed to, we're getting into some property issues here. So I don't want to waste the board's time. Did you guys, when you guys purchased your property, is there an easement? Is there an encumbrance?
No easement, there is no encumbrance, and we did do a complete title search back in 1999.
Okay,
That's how long I've had the house.
okay. That takes care of that side.
No other driveway but mine.
I get it. That takes care of that side. What do you got?
I took my title to Andrew and showed him that it didn't.
I'm sorry, Andrew is who?
Andrew, how do you say his last name? Kosher. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and Andrew is who?
Code enforcement,
Code enforcement. I don't know that Andrew is qualified to say anything
I'll
about
tell
this.
you the reason why. Because when I was trying to hit a fence, my neighbor was arguing, it's a shared driveway, it's a shared driveway, it's always been a shared driveway. And I'm like, okay, fine, I just want to protect my truck because you insist on parking 3 inches away from it. So when I showed him the title, it states, in my house, I have a driveway, I bought it, and it is, Andrew has never said my house is not zoned for a driveway.
It doesn't matter what Andrew says.
I'm just repeating what I was heard.
It
I
doesn't
heard
matter what
before.
Andrew says. The question is there an easement that allows you to get on to the adjoining property?
I've never used the neighbor's driveway. I showed you a photograph too last time of them going in through my driveway so they didn't have to move their car. It didn't bother me. None of it bothered me until we started impeding it.
excuse me, do you have an official easement?
Nothing with an easement, just the title that states that my house comes with a driveway. That's how I bought it. That's how I'm selling it, and I will be open, subject to lawsuits if it gets changed.
Well, I don't know.
That's my point.
I
Yes,
don't
that
know,
would-
but that you don't have a driveway. I don't know whether the driveway, whether she could fit a car on that side, and I don't know anything about the septic.
I have the photo of the car if you want it. My car in my driveway.
I might add too, if you see on both the, even the survey, the objector has presented, if you look up at where it's flush with the, I guess, front right corner, stage right, it says 7.1 feet. And from my research, the New Jersey Administrative Code provides for a driveway to be no less than 8 feet. So anything beyond that point wouldn't constitute a driveway anyway. And to my, from our survey, there was nothing on reflecting gravel driveway on their property. It was only gravel driveway was only reflected on their survey, reflecting our property being a gravel driveway. So,
Well, I don't even understand that, counsel, because it doesn't matter what their survey says about what's going on your property. They weren't hired, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, they weren't hired to look at your property. Whatever driveway your folks have is what they have. Whatever driveway she has is what she has, and that would have come out, in theory, I think, on the survey, as Mr. Simmons pointed out, and there's no indication that that exists. Now, the question, Dave, is based on, I guess, this septic plan, septic system as built, is this showing sufficient space for a car? I can't figure it out.
If I may, there isn't, because there's a maple tree there and there's 3 feet.
Well, there can't be
And
too much
my-
of a maple tree because you got a septic.
Well, that's one of the things, is the roots are going
Let
into the
Mr. Simmons
septic.
answer the question.
Looking, for the record, looking at the plan by Lion Engineering entitled Septic System As Built, Block 5040, Lot 17, 54 Springbrook Trail, dated March 14, 2016. The disposal bed in the front of the house on the Springbrook Trail side is situated that it allows sufficient room for a vehicle to pull in or back into that driveway on your
The
property.
driveway, correct, but not to park on the land in front.
And again, I refer to the photograph that I attached to the report I did May 21st, 2024. It physically shows presumably your vehicle backed into the driveway.
Is it the truck with the tent on the top?
It's this truck.
Yes. Yes, that's my truck.
So physically, when I visited the site, it fit in that site.
Yes.
Between the passenger door and the posts that were in place at the time of my inspection, there's not a lot of room. You may not be able to open the door.
I can't. I came home to it actually blocked in with the fence, on
But
which I provided a
if someone
photograph.
backed in and they were getting out the driver's side, they could get out the driver's side.
That's me, yes. But again, I bought it as a house with 2 car spaces, 1 car width. So with them putting that fence a foot over further than their original fence, now it has taken away the ability to drive there when it has always been sold like that and always been used like that. And I do have photos of them parked on the driveway, which I'm not on the line, sorry, and getting out on my side. And as you can see, I provided you with these last time and I bought them for your records. There's 7 feet on their passenger side, but they just insisted on parking on the line and getting out on my part. Didn't bother me. But she wanted me on the leach field, and that's where this all stems from, and that's why it's now escalated to torturous interference, and I am worried. And also, they claimed not to have any other parking or access to their house. This is on the other side.
That doesn't enter into it. Let's, Mr. Chairman, do you have anything else you want to bring to the board's attention?
Yes, it's 36 feet from the centre line, not 25. And
I'm sorry, what's 36 feet from the center line?
the fence from where the fence can end as per Sparta
Telling me that
zoning.
there's a 36-foot setback for a fence from the center line of a road?
That's what I was. It's online on all the information that was sent to me. It has to be 36 feet back from the centre line, and so you saw the roads. They're not wide.
Well, hold on. Let's stay with one issue at a time. I thought the center line setback was 25 feet.
It's 36.
I heard you. I thought the center line setback was 25 feet.
I can enter your text if you'd like.
I don't, all I can do is, I'm not here to do the spade work for applicants. If I'm representing you, I do it differently, but I'm not here to do that. So the question is,
It's what the applicant had suggested, Glenn. To a point 25 feet from the roadway center line. From
The only
what
thing,
they
Mr.
presented.
Chairman, if I may, just referring back to the survey that was prepared by Lakeland Surveying that I referenced before, I will say Springbrook Trail on this survey is shown as having a 30-foot wide right-of-way. So half the right-of-way is 30 feet. I'm not saying the physical center line of the pavement is exactly in the middle, but if you take that, half of it's 15 feet, and then you go another 10 foot back, if the 25 feet was adhered to, and from the right-of-way back 10 feet, then if a vehicle pulled up from the applicant's property, the fence wouldn't be in the way of looking to the left to see vehicles approaching and cause a sight distance problem.
All right, thank you, David. Well, do we have closing arguments again, Mr. Lynch? Or
do you have any
all
more just 1 second, Mr.
Testimony?
Chairman?
And-
Do you have any other testimony?
Just to say that what you just said about the centre line, I have to back into my driveway, as you can see. And that fence, the closer that fence is, and I told you this from the beginning, it's to stop me using it. The closer that fence is to the road, the harder it is. You already see how tight it is. I bought the house knowing it. I can park. I lived in London for long enough. I can park in small spots. But this is interfering with my parking, and again, is going to leave me open and subject to lawsuits once my house is sold. If it is altered, if the way the house has always been is altered, there's rules to be followed for a reason. And needing a post to guide you in, I have a video of her today moving 5 inches over. She doesn't need a post to guide her in. She's perfectly capable. It is to stop me using the driveway and to park on the leach field, which you're not supposed to do. I'm asking you, please don't
That's
reduce
getting-
the price
that's
of my
getting to the
house.
personal- That's getting to the personal stuff. The board has the testimony. The board has to figure that out. Okay, anything else?
They're not asking you, and I can read your
Excuse me,
text out.
excuse me.
Natasha,
There's only one person
audience,
that you
I
should be
apologize.
talking to.
Please.
And that's the gentleman in the middle.
There's only one thing I do want to say, being as they are typing up. This is it's not personal, as you say. If these guys want to get personal, I'd like to read the things that were sent to me, because it is a campaign, a smear campaign, a hate campaign, and they want me using my driveway. And my house is worth what it is because it comes with the driveway that I purchased it with.
Okay.
So, thank
Anything
you.
else? Anything else?
Just, sorry for getting a little up there.
All right, thank you, Natasha. And you're finished, Mr. Lynch?
Yes, I would just like to add.
Hold on. I don't know whether there's other public
No,
here on
I'm
this
just
one.
saying, if he's done, I'm going to open it to the public, Glenn. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure he's
Okay.
all complete with his testimony.
Just considering the totality of the testimony, I mean, there's a need for a privacy fence, I believe that's evident. And considering the board's engineer's report, the fence is in line with the standards, and the relief that we're asking isn't going to cause a detriment to the public and is in line with the Sparta ordinances. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll now open it to the public. If anyone has any questions or comments, please come forward to the microphone and state your name and address to the secretary.
Yes, Dean Murray, 15 Birch Parkway.
Just pull that closer to you so you don't have to be like a giraffe.
Okay.
You
Dean
can actually
Murray.
take, you can actually
You can pull
take
that
the mic out.
Oh. Dean Murray, 15 Birch Parkway. I am not a neighbor.
Wait a minute, what's your interest in this
Okay,
application?
I am a resident of 41 years and I was on the Board of
Well,
I want to
Trustees.
find out what she's even, before I swear her in.
Okay.
If she's not within, are you within, you weren't noticed within 200 feet of the property, is that correct?
No, but I was on the board at Lake Mohawk Country Club for 15 years and these spats have come up time and time
Okay,
again.
let's swear you in then. Let's raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, the proceedings before the board tonight's help you God?
Yes,
Would you spell your first name and your last name, please?
DeanMurray.
And you reside where, Dean?
Birch Parkway,
Okay.
which is Sparta. Go ahead. I'm basically here because I had heard the wind of the gist of what was going on. And I can tell you that we've had this issue when I was on the board at the country club time and time again. And our engineer at the time, Mike Colodi, we also had it was a board member who was in a tit for tat, pardon my choice of words, with his neighbor. And it was a courtesy use. And he demanded his neighbor correct the deed because he said we had an agreement with the previous owners that we could use this driveway. Well, there was nothing. There never was. A very narrow lot. And to this day, there was nothing ever changed. It impeded the neighbor's house, but there are a lot of lots in Lake Mohawk. There is no driveway. And that's why the more current rules and whatever you're all passing, where you need to have a driveway on your property, can't be handled in Lake Mohawk, hence there's a lot of parking on the road. So I've also known these folks for over 20-some years, and I'm just stating that in the past, I have dealt with these sort of things when we were on the Board of Trustees. So to not assume that you have permission to use a driveway is truly a shared use. It is just a fact, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that's a nuance to Lake Mohawk.
Thank you for your insight. We appreciate it.
Let's just leave that on the top of the rail.
Not yet, Natasha, we still have to get through the rest of the
Oh,
public.
okay, because
before
I do
you-
have something to say.
Anyone
Thank
else,
you.
please come forward. Please give your name and address to the secretary.
Gail Warner, GailWarner, 58 Springbrook Trail. I've lived in my home.
Excuse me, you'll have to swear her into, Glenn, if you
sorry.
don't mind.
Hello,
Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
And your name is still Gail Warner, right?
It is.
All right, go ahead.
It is. I've lived in my house for 47 years. And I just wanted to make a statement that this house, at 52, there's always been parking on the street. Anyone that has been in this house has parked on the street. So for her to say that you cannot park on the street is not true.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else from the public, please come forward. And as usual, please give your name and address to the secretary.
Hi, my name is Michelle Rome. I'm at 57 Springbrook.
ROME?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board
Yes,
tonight, so help you God?
I do.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay. So I am the neighbor directly across the street from Laird and Nancy Navarez. We've only been in this neighborhood for 3 years. When we moved in, there was a different owner in 54 Springbrook. And that owner always parked on what 54 Springbrook's owner is saying is a leach field. There was actually, all the grass was all worn down and the car always parked there because this space was not wide enough from Miss Navarez's driveway to the side of the house on 54 Springbrook to really park there. They had, I think, 2 kids that also drove, so that was 3 cars. All 3 cars would park on the street. That's how it had been for years, from what I understood. I think, this is unfortunately tit for tat, but the bottom line I said to Nancy is that this is just something that you put an application in and you have to clear, is it going to pass the variance? That's why you're here. So I just want to say that I watched the June 12th meeting that you had. It was a lot of minutia, in my opinion, but unfortunately, that's what happens. The best neighbors are the ones with fences. Hopefully, you'll give her what she needs so that the future could be a lot brighter on their end. The one last thing I'm going to say is that we do spend a lot of time with this neighbor on her deck. We have nice dinners over there, but the constant lights turning on while we're literally sitting there like probably 25 feet away from the security cameras, it's very disruptive. And clearly they're listening. We feel like they're listening to our conversations. It just doesn't, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say our piece because we hope this goes through for them. We don't object.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else in the public, please come forward.
Please do.
Please give your name and address to the secretary.
Yes, Jerry Murphy, 161 Alpine Trail.
Lift the mic out, Jerry. There you go. Raise your right hand, Jerry, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I lived on Springbrook Trail when it was a dirt road. The center line argument is probably not very valid because that's a moving target. As far as generally hearing this is a C variance. That's it. I've heard a lot of irrelevant discussion, but I would like the board just to consider the merits of a C variance only and disregard the minutia. Thank you.
And thank you, Jerry. Anyone else in the public? Seeing no one else in the public, it's now closed to the public. Back to the hearing. Natasha, you had some comments with the
Yes.
testimony given by the public?
Yes, first of all, in regards to what Ms. Murray stated about the other neighbours having a verbal, agreement that so-and-so, not my driveway, whoever she was talking about, that's a verbal agreement. I have legal papers. I bought that house. In regards to what Ms. Warner said, well, in 2016, a new leach field was put in. So, yeah, maybe there were cars parked on there before then, but now, before then, but, and I was told by my septic inspector not to park on there. My first time having a septic system. I abide by the rules, like when you're under oath, telling the truth. And as for there being Miss Rome's testimony, she actually sent me a text saying how nice the grass looked and she was so happy that I'd managed to get it grown. That's not the one I was talking about. You'd love to hear the other one. So, and as for the gentleman from Alpine Drive, when it was a dirt road, it's a dirt road. Things are improved. Now we have lines, which thank goodness we do, because now we can have a fair hearing. I've given you all of my things. I've explained why I have been told that if this fence is put up like that, it's ugly. It's not a pretty picket fence, as she stated on the record last time. It's 6-foot orange cedar. And we're going on about how lovely the street is. It is lovely. Until you nearly get to my house, and now you see just the two panels of this bright orange 6-foot fence. It's bright orange. Just take it nearly all the way up the driveway. So not only is it ugly, it will impede my thing, and it will bring down the costs more than it's already been brought down by people being told that it's an illegal driveway when they are viewing my home. 3 buyers, hence the tortious interference motion that's being filed.
Now, would the applicant and the
don't
neighbor
have
have any
this.
concessions they would like to make or discuss before the board moves to have a motion in regards to the C variance?
Did you say confession?
Concessions, would anyone have any concessions here? We try to work things out a lot of times before we get to a motion to vote. That's why I've been doing this 25 years. A lot of times animosity between neighbors, they do have concessions and they work things out.
I have always been able to do that until this past year. I have always worked things out one way or
Coming up
another.
here.
Ma'am, the answer is just yes or no. We don't. let's
Mr.
stay
Lynch,
on
do you have
the-
any concessions to work out here or not?
Honestly, but there has been extensive back and forth, and any potential concessions discussion would.
Not going to work?
Do I get a say on the concessions? I offered the law firm the chance to mediate this, to avoid this, but as the last time, I was sent this accusatory without merit message. I was ignored. Now,
As of now, no concessions, all right? That's complete.
Yeah, no, and when,
Right.
I do want to say, when it states and shows the minutes, that when I said I wanted a privacy fence, I showed you why I was up for a privacy fence. I want the fence to be as per the rules, because that's how I'm selling my house. And, you said, you advised the gentleman over there, the lawyer, I don't remember his name, my apologies. You advised him to advise your clients to take down those posts for my further viewings. And the signs. She went home and put will be completed in July. So which I beg to think she got some info that I don't have. I've given you everything, the truth. And you saw how upset I got when the truth wasn't said last time under oath. When you swear to tell the truth under oath, you tell the truth. I've given you the truth and what it's going to do to my house and my life, even after I sell it.
All right, Natasha, we understand and we appreciate all your
Thank you.
testimony.
Thank you.
I'll open it to the board one last time before we have a motion. If any board members have any other questions? Landon, Mark?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Glenn or Dave, is there such thing as a shared driveway? I mean, if you have a property line, one person has to stay on the one side and the other person has to stay on the other side unless there's an easement. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So,
Or an easement or something that showed it when it was originally done. I mean, we used to do common drives
Yes.
in new subdivisions. I'm thinking of a couple that we did together out in Lafayette, where they'd come in off the road, Mark. They'd come in and it'd be a little wider there, and then one driveway would go this way and one would go that way. So that's what you're talking about. But these are old plotted Lake Mohawk lots, as the board knows better than probably Davey and me.
okay. I don't know if this is a question or a comment.
Why don't you just make a you
All
want to
right.
just make a motion? Get a motion, and then you can discuss the motion out,
Okay.
unless you need more information, more.
Yes. Are all these posts on your property,
Absolutely.
right?
Within, well within.
Okay.
They're not a foot within, they are less than a foot within, but they are definitely within. As I think the gentleman said he ascertained for sure that those posts were in fact on my side of the property.
And that's allowed by code, Dave, right? There's no setback that you have to be off the property.
Based on the property corners that were set on the applicant's property that I observed in the field.
In addition to the corners.
Ma'am, it's closed. It's closed.
Yeah,
It
no
should
more
just stay-
testimony.
It should just stay up here. Because otherwise, we have to open it up to the public again, Mr. Chairman. And so, did you get your answer, Mark? From Dave?
Yes.
Any other questions, Mark?
Um,
No?
no, I can
Rich, you
discuss
said-
my opinion. No.
Once a motion is up, you can say what you're thinking, but I would call for a motion, Mr. Chairman.
I just want to get Rich Roback. I had another question you said after the objectors. I just want to finish all the questions.
I received the answer during the objector's testimony.
Okay, thank you. And Rich? Nothing? All right, the chair will entertain a motion approving the application 424 Nancy Navarez and Larry Johnson.
Sure.
C variance relief. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to have the board attorney draft a resolution approving application number 04-24 for Nancy Navias and Laird Johnson, Block 5040, Lot 18 at 56 Springbrook Trail, seeking C variances for the 6-foot-high privacy fence, or 4-foot-high, as permitted. The privacy fence to be solid rather than 50% solid. A 6-foot-high decorative pole along the driveway rather than a 4-foot pole. And I believe I saw in the application existing non-conforming condition of roughly 1 foot side yard setback where a 10-foot is required, with conditions of adherence to all stipulations laid out in the board engineer's report.
And Mike, I don't know if I heard it or not. Would you amend it to have our board attorney prepared, or did I miss that? I'm not sure.
You missed that, but that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, I'm
gonna have you
talking
do it,
fast
Mr.
there.
Chairman.
Thank you. Now, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion with one
You're
clarification.
now under discussion? Sure, go ahead.
Well, the discussion tonight was they want to extend it another panel as opposed to what's in the application.
Right.
What do we,
Yeah, we had, when she was going
Well,
out.
I don't think there was a variance for that unless I misunderstood, because they're going to drop to the 4-foot, which is
no,
permitted.
no. They wanted to extend the 6-foot-high fence an extra panel. Tonight, that was the
As of
request
tonight.
tonight, which is a change from the application.
That correct, Glenn, then?
I'm just
I
looking
just
at
want
Dave
to be
because you went
sure.
out to the site.
I had in my report that it was going to extend 13 feet, and I think you said 20 is
20.
what you wanted?
Yeah, to the second post. There are 2 empty posts. I wanted the privacy fence to go to the second post, which would be approximately 20 feet from the foundation.
All right, so from 13 feet to 20 feet, would that be 6 foot high or 4 foot high?
6 foot high.
So the whole thing
privacy
would be
fence.
6 foot high.
Any remaining fence would be the 4-foot picket.
The what now?
If we install further fencing beyond that second post, it would be 4-foot picket fence.
So a maximum of 20 feet in front of your
Privacy.
foundation would be 6 foot high privacy fence.
Correct.
Okay?
That's the change from my original application.
Right.
8 feet.
Good.
Got it?
Okay,
Does that answer it?
Good?
yep.
Okay.
Now, any discussion before we take
Yeah, Dave,
vote? Go
so
ahead,
Dave,
Mark.
if we go forward with an 8-foot privacy fence, is that
6
going to
foot.
cause a safety
6.
issue?
No, because it's going to be at least 25 feet back from the center line of Springbrook Trail, wherever the fence ends. And because the pavement width, so I'm estimating is approximately 12-foot wide lane, that's an estimate. So if it's 20, that's another 13 feet, and that's almost the length of a car. The driver's eye isn't going to be impeded by that fence.
All right, Mark?
Yeah, may I make a comment?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I stood there and I did it 360 degrees from standing right there. And I don't see a privacy fence anywhere, anywhere. I drove up Springbrook Trail, I didn't see a privacy fence anywhere. It's not in the code. And I don't understand why we have to, in my opinion, I'm not for the change.
All right,
Um, I mean, if they want to go 6 feet with the slats, I could, amend it to that.
Mark, did you say 6 feet or 8 feet high? I thought I heard you just say 8. Maybe I
You said 8
misunderstood.
feet, David, it's
Because I don't think they're proposing 8.
I know it's,
Proposing
okay, it's
6.
That's right,
6.
They're proposing 6.
that's right.
And they want to extend it out.
I know they want to extend it,
Oh,
but there are no other privacy fences around there. It doesn't seem to fit the area. And I think that the code is the code for a reason. I vote no, or I.
we
my
didn't take the
opinion-
vo- we didn't take the
my
vote yet.
opinion- My opinion. is-
That's your
You're just
opinion,
giving
and
your
we'll get
opinion.
to a
That's my
vote in a
opinion.
second.
Okay.
All right, any other comments? All right, Marissa, you could call the roll, please.
Richard LaRufa,
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Robert Rohrbacher. Richard Rohrbacher.
Robert's my evil twin.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. No.
Mark Scott,
No.
Lana Teneri,
No.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes.
Okay. Not approved, so it's denied.
Thank you.
And Marissa, could you read the vote for the public?
I'm sorry?
Can you read the vote for the public, the amount?
3 yeses and 3 nos.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
I just had a question. Does the fence panels that were put up, they get removed now? The posts and the fence panels that are there?
Because it's post.
That's not for the board to determine.
And that's
That's
not in our
something the construction
jurisdiction.
department
No.
will
Okay, so
figure
speak
out.
to Andrew.
I have no idea, and the board would
Thank you.
not comment on that. Board's just making judgments on applications that are pending before them.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. I really do. Thank you.
Now, yeah. Next application, 5-24 Main Street Creations LLC, block number 2802, Lot 3 for C variance relief. And then just before we begin, sir, after you present your application first, the entire application, we'll then open it to our board and our professionals for their comments and issues, if any, and then we'll open it to the public, okay?
Fair enough.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, appreciate your time this evening. My name is William Askin and Hooker here in Sparta Township. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, my client, Main Street Creations LLC, and the application relates to property that they own in block 28002, lot 3. The application is for development of a residential property, and your consideration for approval would require side yard setback and a few miscellaneous pre-existing non-conforming conditions with the lot itself. Support of our application, we also included materials, included a survey, a planner's report from Mr. Jason Dunn, who will be my first witness. And we have also some architectural schematics to this evening from the architect, Mr. Paul Ashworth. Also available to testify, probably just for questions, if the board has any, are our civil engineer, Mr. Owen Dykstra, and then the representative of the owner of the property is Mr. Tom Alpson, who happens to be a licensed engineer, but we would be testifying simply as a layperson on behalf of the applicant. He serves for the property as the property manager, let me think, the farm manager, and if this application is approved and there's eventually development on the property, he would be the construction manager. So he's very familiar with the property, the uses, if you have any questions about the uses or what the future holds or what the future holds that the owner would like to see. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Dunn to present his planning analysis. Ask if the board has any questions, if we need to qualify Mr. Dunn.
I'll take care of the rest of that.
You will. Thank you,
And then
sir.
Mr. Askin, who's the actual applicant, the actual owner?
It's Main Street Creations LLC is the owner of the property.
And who would that be in terms of individuals or?
It's an individual that's, I talked to Mr. Keynes briefly before the meeting tonight. It's kind of a public personality that we would like to keep confidential, not have it out in the public for obvious reasons.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
You
Dunn?
know
and-
the drill, Mr. Dunn. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
What is your name?
Jason Dunn,
And what are you?
professional planner and licensed landscape architect.
And you've been qualified under those two titles on numerous occasions before this board, is that correct?
Yes, he is.
Are you still licensed?
Yes.
Anything else?
That covers it all. No questions from the board, I would assume? All right, Mr. Dunn.
Thank you. I just want to start by getting the board oriented to the property.
Jason, are all these part of what was submitted as part of the application, bud, or do we have to mark any of them?
There's two sheets that I would like to enter into exhibits. They are the same that has been,
But you used your crayons.
we just used some crayons to highlight features of the property.
Mine was shared, do you, Rich?
Okay, so you want to mark that as A1, Jay? And what is that, just the cover sheet? Variance plan? Variance plan for Main Street Creations LLC?
A1 is sheet 1 of 2 of Main Street Creations LLC variance plan,
Is there a date on it, Jason?
January 31st, 2024.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the cover sheet that was supplied to the board. It has a survey of property and existing conditions map on the left side and a key map on the right side. To start, I'd like to draw the attention to the survey of property. I have it highlighted in pink on the left corner of the sheet, which is Main Street, Route 517. Another magenta or pink line that kind of snakes through these properties and across the railroad tracks is the existing driveway. The orange line is colorized the railroad track. Property in question is Lot 3. It's a landlocked lot, about 31 acres. It's wooded and undeveloped at this time. It is irregular in shape It has a flag stem that connects to the railroad, but not all the way to 517. The history of that and the origin of that is not really known to me. It was talked about in our office that it may have been what's known as a woodlot in the past. It was subdivided around the 1800s. So in other words, to access the lot, it has to traverse several other existing lots. Lot 1, block 28001, which is developed with a single-family home. Lot 2, block 28001, which to my knowledge is vacant. And then the railroad track lot is lot 38, block 50000. And finally, lot 2, block 28002 is the majority of the driveway that leads to lot 3. There are existing access easements in place. There is an agreement with the railroad in place that up to 3 homes can be built on the 3 lots that share this driveway. Lot 1, 2, and 3, block 20081. I'm sorry, 20082. That's a mistypo. 20082. So that the easements are in place and we can cross the railroad tracks. The condition of the driveway is paved. It's approximately 20 feet at its widest. It does narrow in some places to about 15 feet, and it leads to an existing single-family home on lot 2. Lots 1, 2, and 3 are owned by sister companies, but it's generally the same entity person. So we are proposing a single-family home on lot 3, block 28002. In the planning report, I explained the sort of site conditions and site analysis. It shows that the majority of lot 3 is encumbered by steep slopes and bedrock outcrops. That's in the geological survey and the soil surveys, so that the opportunity to develop this lot is very limited as to the areas that can be developed. So that's one of the reasons we chose the area that we did. The second is that this is located within the Highlands Preservation Area. So we are seeking, and we believe that we are qualified for a Highlands Exemption number 5, which allows a single-family home on a lot that's been subdivided prior to the rule. But as a condition of that exemption, you would not be able to exceed over 1/4 acre disturbance or over 1 acre of disturbance or 1/4 acre of new impervious. This application complies with both of those thresholds. Surrounding properties are also wooded. To the southeast is Hawthorne Park Club. That is a homeowners association for Hawthorne Lake. That's, to my knowledge, at least anywhere near the property is undeveloped and wooded. And then there's the town of Newton owns lot 12, which is part of the Morris Lake conservation property for their reservoir. So the likelihood of those 2 lots being developed is not really there. So I just wanted to say that it's fairly isolated. There is the existing home on the neighboring lot 2. However, as I said, they're existing, they coexist, if you will. Access. What we're asking for is for side yard setbacks and to allow the house to be built on a lot that does not abut a public street. There are a few existing non-conforming conditions as well that we would ask to get on the record and continue to allow this single-family home to be built. The second sheet is, is this a new exhibit or can it be both?
This was submitted, but you used your crayons again?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, let's mark that. You know what, how many other sheets do you have and you're going to be testifying to,
That's
Jason?
all I have is these 2.
Let's mark it, let's mark them, let's keep it as A1 consisting of 2 sheets, okay? And just identify what's on the second sheet. What's the title or caption on it?
This is sheet 2 of 2, titled Plot Plan dated January 31st, 2024.
Okay, thanks, Jace.
This sheet has several of the items needed to actually construct the site and the home. It includes some drainage, stormwater management aspects, and a height calculation showing that we will comply with the height of the zone. It's in the RR zone. It does allow single-family home residential. And then it has, the main part of the sheet is a 50-scale plan showing the area I've highlighted around with my pink crayon. The area to be developed is about 36,000 square feet, so under an acre. The house is fairly close to the property lines, and that is mainly because just behind the house, there exists a bedrock outcrop that is nearly vertical and about 20 feet tall. So to move the house further back from the sidelines would require the removal of that rock and a lot more disturbance of the forested areas. So that's one of the main reasons for our setback variance. It would have a septic system, individual septic system for a 2-bedroom home. You will see what the architect presents. It's a 2-bedroom living quarters, but it's also a full-size indoor basketball court. The owner is a professional athlete and has the need and desire to practice away from his home and family and all the things that, not all the time. Once in a while, you got to get away and you got to focus on what your training is. And right now, that person has to find other places and rent out other spaces pretty much for himself and his trainer. So it would be very convenient for him to be right nearby his residence. The driveway is about 30 feet long, and it could conceivably accommodate 2 cars on the property. But there is a garage, which we'll see that the architect will speak. It's large enough that it could accommodate up to 5 cars in the garage. I know in the engineer's report, there was a question about what if this person has guests? Where would they park? I will tell you that the use is single-family residential with a recreational aspect for his personal use. This is not something where he's going to hold tournaments or 5-on-5 or whatever full-on basketball games that were to be spectators and so on. That is not the purpose of this.
Mr. Dunn, would he be open to a condition not allowing that, what you just mentioned, if we get to that point at the end of resolution?
What exactly would you propose? I would defer to, yeah.
Oh, when we get there, I guess we can cover it after I just wanted to plant that idea in your mind and so forth. Go and continue.
So by RSIS standards, there is sufficient parking on the lot for a 2-bedroom home. I think I covered most of the setup of what we're asking for. Is there any questions about that?
So you can finish your testimony.
So there was, there was one more thing, HVAC units. We spoke with the architect. He said they can be provided on the roof, so there wouldn't be additional impervious or development accommodating HVAC units. They would have to be fairly substantial because of the space of the indoor court, but also for the living quarters and the weight room. So it's my opinion that this is a fairly straightforward variance with a C1 hardship variance because of the nature of the lot, the topography, the irregular shape, and the bedrock throughout. Additionally, I think it also can be a C2 where it's a better planning alternative rather than disturbing more land and reducing the size of the building. Fits all the other aspects of the lot, of the ordinance, if not for those 2 side yard variances, where 30 feet is proposed and 50 feet is
That's a required.
required. And then I see in Mr. Simmons' report too, there's a second variance where there's supposed to be a total of 100 feet setback, and we have a total of 68.3.
That's correct.
So we'll need a variance for that as well.
What was the number, 60 what?
68.3, Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
The total of both side yard setbacks would be 68.3, where 100 is
Required.
required. By way of the location of this, I don't think that it would have any negative impact on your zone plan or the neighbors. The only neighbor it could conceivably impact is the existing home, which is going to be over 180 feet from the proposed residence. In regards to the private road matter, or the called an appeal, they call it a planning variance, where it would allow the driveway to serve this proposed residence. You've already have a paved driveway that's wide enough to service both homes. The maintenance agreement would be in place, that the responsibility would be on the person furthest in. However, the other owners that use the driveway have the right to maintain it as well. But all that paperwork can be supplied. So I think that we have access for emergency vehicles to get to the site and turn around, sufficient space to turn around and leave the site as well. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Next professional?
I would bring up next our architect, Mr. Paul Ashworth.
Glenn, would you be so kind?
Of course. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to proceed before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
And who might you be?
I am Paul Ashworth, owner of PVA Architecture LLC.
Paul, spell your last name, please.
WORTH.
And you're the proud owner of what company?
PVA Architecture LLC.
Are you a licensed professional architect in the state of New Jersey?
I am. State of New Jersey and 20 other states also.
And is your license valid as of tonight?
It is.
Have you ever been qualified to appear and testify before a planning or a zoning board in New Jersey, or this one for that matter?
This one's Florida. Yes.
Anything else, Mr. Chairman?
Nothing. Thank you, Glenn. Any questions from the board on the qualifications? Seeing none, proceed, sir.
Thank you. Jason did an outstanding job of explaining the architecture and the program. So what I'm going to do is pull up just the plans to flip through them. This is all of the information that has been submitted to you outside of this one. I can mark this as an exhibit, which is the floor plan. The only thing I did was I just added the graphics of 5 cars inside.
All right, so what did you mark that as, Paul?
What do you want me to mark it as?
I want you to mark it as A2, please.
E2. If I can borrow. Thank you. And as always, I'll leave this with you. Everything else is exactly as what you have submitted.
Excuse me, Marissa, you're picking everything up on the?
Yeah, am I loud
Thank
enough?
you.
I can
No,
talk
no,
louder.
you're fine.
So pull these back. Obviously, we've got the floor plans over there and the elevations here. And just gonna start off with the elevations because it rolls into Jason's description of how it got sited and how we're gonna have to construct it. So as you can tell, this is towards the rear of the site. These are the side elevations. This is the entry, vice versa over here, entry and the hill. So what we're gonna have to do is obviously the basketball court is the entry level with the parking, right? That's recessed, and we specifically did it that way to kind of marginalize and minimize the massing of a larger building, of the single-family house. It's gonna have a significantly to-be-designed cast-in-place concrete wall, and the stud framing will go on top of it from there. Materiality for the residence, there it is. We're gonna do it as a precast panel, we think, and do it with different textures to give some play and some depth to it, so it's not just this monolithic looking structure. Insulated windows everywhere. You can obviously tell that this is the area where the basketball court would be, so that you're not breaking windows and that it's protected. And this is the sliver of the single family residence. I'll walk over here. Oh, I don't knock it over. So again, first floor, you can see it's the basketball court, and to support the concept or statement from Jason that it's not set up for spectators. This actual outline is the outline of an NBA basketball court, and there's like 3 feet on the outside, so there's not much run out space. That's all there really is. Again, first floor has got the parking with a staircase and an elevator that goes up. Second floor, obviously, open to below, and it has a viewing area for people to look. It's got a gym and a massage area, along with a bathroom. And then the top floor is the bedrooms. It's 2 bedrooms, ensuite bathroom, bathroom accessible to the hallway, kitchen, and living room. And we're gonna do this as glass up there, so you can kind of look out. Pretty basic. I don't know if there's really anything else. Jason did a pretty good job of describing most of it, and that's the building and the materials. Compliant in height, meets the average grade. I think it's 29'4". Oh, it's actually right on here. 29'4". So we're compliant in height. The building itself is compliant as designed.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Ashton, does Mr. Dykstra have anything to testify to?
Mr. Dykstra's here, in case there might be any questions that require some engineering testimony. I don't think there should be. And again, I have a representative from the applicant here to
Right.
if there are questions for.
All right, thank you. We'll get David's report first before the board has their questions and comments, if you don't mind, David.
Sure, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
For the record, just referring to the June 13th, 2024 report that I prepared, the applicant did hit most of the items, but there are a few things I'd just like to highlight. Going over to page 2 of the report, Mr. Dunn did call out the various variances that were involved, including those existing conditions and the planning variance. They did indicate under item 4A for the plot plan that my understanding is it's basically a owner and limited number of people, not necessarily for the tournaments and what have you. That was a question as far as being able to park everybody in the area. I did have a question when I went to the site and I pulled up close to the area right where the 30-foot driveway is coming off. There was an area where there had been logging done and what have you. Does this applicant or one of the other companion companies have plans to do more development, just so everybody knows?
Turn over to Mr. Alpson to come up and get him sworn in.
Mr. Glenn, if you don't mind.
Sir, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in the proceedings before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Thomas Alfson,
Tom, how you spell your last name?
ALFSEN. Sure, so to answer Mr. Simmons' question,
Just for the record, your relationship is that you're going to be the construction manager, essentially,
so
and
I
you're
have
familiar with the site and the plans and everything else, right,
correct, I have
Tom?
a relationship with the applicant. I'm their property manager, construction manager, and farm manager.
Okay, just wanted to get that on the record. We don't trust attorneys sometimes.
I'm not a licensed engineer.
You don't-
I have a degree in civil engineering. I'm not licensed.
You're not testifying to that? We get it. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Not a
sir.
problem. So to answer Mr. Simmons' question, the adjoining lot, not this specific lot, is a certified commercial farm through the agricultural board. On that property, the applicant has plans to install through the ag board hydroponic garden for themselves. They also want to plant some trees, peach trees, apple trees. So it is purely for farming, which is a certified commercial farm through the Agricultural Board of Sussex County. Regarding Mr. Simmons' question about future development, things like that, short of farming, that is what's going on.
Okay, thank you. I pointed out 2 things. There's an existing deer fence on adjacent Lot 2, which encroaches onto Lot 3. We'd like to get that taken care of if we could.
I mean, is that something that, upon the sale of a home, it could be relocated? Again, this applicant owns all 3 properties. It's 110 acres. I don't know, is that something that upon the sale of a home, he has to relocate, or does he just have to relocate it?
I would say relocate it, put an easement in place, whichever is more convenient for you.
Okay, I think an easement.
Quick easement?
Yeah.
That's
the
fine.
Individual has it, yep.
And then I did notice on the survey, there was a deed overlap between lots 1 and 3. if we could work on getting that corrected.
Yeah, I don't know if Owen, maybe you can talk about that, so.
We spoke with the surveyor who happens to work on our company, Doug Dykstra. He said one of the options we could do and would most likely do is a quit claim deed from lot 1 to lot 3 to make that overlap in the favor of lot 3. So
That
the
would
lot-
be fine with me.
The lot in question would not, the area would not change.
That'd be fine with me.
You do that as part of the, assuming you get an approval, you do that at that time, Bill?
And then I pointed out under item E on the top of page 3, the survey map shows a path, quote unquote, of some description running through the applicant's property from lot 1 to lot 12. What rights does the owner of lot 12 have to cross the applicant's property?
None that we're aware of. I mean, unless there's an unrecorded easement or license or something that he might have, there's nothing in the title.
Okay. Wanted to bring that one out. With regards to storm drainage, the applicant did provide some mitigation because of the additional impervious and Sparta's ordinance, and we found that to be acceptable, subject to the maintenance plan being prepared for the stormwater mitigation. With regards to the architectural plans, is there going to be a generator for the facility?
It's not proposed at this time.
Okay.
Would it make sense to just locate one? Wouldn't mean that you have to put it in. Otherwise, you might have to make a separate application and the like, wouldn't they, Dave?
I think the property next door to
Yeah,
this
so
had to come in for a
the
generator.
existing home of the client, the applicant, has a 60 kW.
Yeah,
generator.
we're very aware of that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not proposed at this time, and if we do need that, we'll come back to the board.
Okay. And the HVAC units, that's proposed to be on the roof now?
Correct.
Okay. Soil erosion sediment control is needed, or well and septic is being proposed. With regards to running the utilities up, the electric, telephone, and cable, is there sufficient utilities coming up to the existing dwelling on tax lot 2 that the applicant's going to tap off those utilities and come over?
Correct. We're going to work with JCP&L. Currently, there's a transformer on 403 Main Street, which is the adjacent lot. So we are going to work with JCP&L to see if that needs to be upgraded to a larger 300 kW or whatever that building is. First, we need the architecturals in order to figure out the load that we need, and then we can apply to JCP&L. But the service is under the railroad. It's up on the property. It's a matter of transforming it, transformer.
And the applicant's going to take care of the cost of all that? Okay.
This was all actually contemplated in the original development, I guess it was like 15 years ago. There's a license agreement that the property owner has with the railroad, where there's conduit that's run underneath the railroad, and the railroad has given the owner approval for one home on each of the 3 lots. So there's an extra room in the conduit if it's needed to run additional utilities.
Correct. We have
up underneath.
an additional
And we have-
6 conduit buried under the railroad
Right.
in case of future utilities that's already in place.
Okay, good. And as far as the access drive goes, the one thing, Mr. Dunn mentioned that there was existing easements. I just want to make sure it's clear for the record. On sheet 1 of 2, under access easement notes, it says, there is no public road frontage from the property in question. Access to Lot 3, Block 28002, is from Route 517 through lots 1 and 2 in Block 28001, Lot 38 in Block 50,000, and Lot 2 in Block 28002. Access easements shall be set up as a condition of any approval. I guess the question I've got is, are there easements now, or you've got to make more easements?
There are easements now. I have to revisit them and make sure this property is a beneficiary of the existing easement. We may need to add them as another additional beneficiary. That easement that runs up from the road.
So if it's not covered,
2 or
it'll,
3 property owners.
it'll be
granted
worked on.
easements, correct.
Okay,
You'll do that, you're going to have to do that sooner rather than later, Bill, okay?
okay. And again, as Mr. Dunn pointed out, maintenance, if I understood him correctly, this house on proposed, or Lot 3, would be the furthest away, so they'd be responsible for their own maintenance of the whole driveway?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I believe the way the original easement was written, that the property owner of 403 would maintain that road. And I believe everybody else around would have the right to maintain it as well.
Oh, so I probably misspoke. I said that the proposed the lot for the proposed dwelling would be responsible, but actually it's lot
It's
two.
the
Lot two.
existing, yeah, the existing home currently has the obligation to maintain that access.
Okay.
Did we have a copy of that, Dave? Because usually it is, as Jason said, usually it's the last lot is responsible, and whatever you all work out with
Yeah.
everybody down in front.
I guess because there wasn't a home on it, that there's nothing that exists. I'm not.
Is it all the same entity again?
Yeah, correct. All three properties, 110 acres owned by the same entity.
Why don't you-
Three entities.
Owned by the same.
Bill, why don't you, just make sense, Dave? Why doesn't Bill put together just some kind of a maintenance, it's one page as to who's responsible, how it's going to work, and just do it by lot and block, because that'll accomplish what I think Dave was talking about.
And I think that should be a condition
Yeah,
of
I think
us
so
to
too.
review it. Not that it doesn't
Just a
exist.
summary of how it's going to work?
No, just do it. Let's get them all in place. That way you don't have to worry about it. The building department has everything. You have everything too. And, you got to watch what happened on the first application.
Okay.
I don't know.
There's a
Excuse me,
construction.
Glenn, can you repeat that for the potential condition? Mike's keeping track of that with myself. We want to word that when we get to the,
They'll provide a driveway maintenance agreement. I'm sorry, Mike, I wasn't thinking about you, buddy. They'll provide a driveway maintenance agreement that sets forth that this applicant will be responsible for maintaining the drive for snow removal and other purposes. I think it really gets to be that simple, Mike.
thank you, Glenn.
Then under construction details, we just need ultimately, if there's a retaining wall proposed, just need a detail of the wall. And under miscellaneous, there's a listing of the various approvals I believe are going to be needed at a minimum. And I recommend, as usual, an as-built be prepared to verify the setbacks and what have you on the facility after it's constructed, if the board so chooses to approve it. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, David.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Ayers, can you have any more presentation from your professionals?
We agree to all the conditions suggested by your engineer. I don't have any other direct testimony. I would turn it over to the board for any questions.
All right, thank you. We'll open it to the board now. Marissa?
John Pinkelty,
No questions.
Richard LaRufa.
Yeah, I have several questions. I'm confused about some things, and hopefully we can clarify it more. Part of it is what the definition of this is, if it's a residence with a basketball court or a training facility or a camp. I looked at the plans, and well, let's start with Dave's first question was the HVAC system. You now say you're going to put them all up on the roof. Does that mean you're going to raise the elevation of the building?
Absolutely not. If you look at the
You're going to put them
elevations,
you're going to put them under the roof?
so yeah, you'll just have the
In the
condenser
trusses?
outside, the actual heating and air conditioning unit. That's going to be a truss system in that peaked roof, so we can hide everything in there.
And both the air conditioners will be, the condensers will be where, on the roof or on the
Be
ground
on the
somewhere?
roof. On the back side, you'll never see them. You rarely won't hear them. So if it's the back side, I can keep them right in this area, and they'll never break the height of the roof.
Okay, just wonder where they are. Second question with that is, what's the fuel source for the heating system?
Propane.
Propane. So
Okay,
Buried
where,
underground propane.
where are you gonna put the propane tank under the ground? That's not shown. Again, there's a limited area where you could put things on this site. You're not showing where proposed, and I gotta assume you're putting in a pretty good sized propane tank. So you got the well in the front, you got the septic system, you got the storm management system in the front of the house, and there's not much place else you can put a 1,000-gallon tank or more.
I mean, I don't know if this survey reflects that the property grade comes down this way. You can set a tank 300 feet away.
But
and
you
run
also
a
have to
line.
be able to get access to it to fill it.
No, understood. I mean, they have hoses and stuff, but yes, correct.
That's a long way to take a hose. That's why, it should be shown, okay?
We do a condition on that, to show the propane tanks underground and within the proper separation distance where they need to be.
Okay. Again, I look at this and I'm debating whether this is a residence with a private basketball court or a basketball training facility or practice facility that has some amenities, some home amenities, but I look at the architectural plans, and maybe the architect can clarify these. Let's start at the top floor, okay? On the top floor, you show 2 bedrooms.
Correct.
One, the master bedroom or the big bedroom has a bathroom with a shower and a bathtub in it, and the other bathroom is in the hallway there. Neither bedroom has a closet. I don't know how many applicants have come before us saying they have a septic system designed for a 3-bedroom house, but there's a 4th room up there that says it's not a bedroom because there's no closet in it. There's no closet in these bedrooms. If this is a house, if this is a residence, that's, you know, the definition of residence, you got to put your clothes somewhere, okay? It's not shown that. It's shown as a desk, a table, and a couch with a TV center or something like that. It's just not shown. That's what I'm saying. It's a dedicated closet that you need if it's really a residence. The second thing is, okay, the second thing is, I don't see any laundry room. I don't see any laundry facility. And again, you're talking about basketball players, okay? I played basketball in college. Not that well, but I did play. Basketball players tend to get sweaty and stinky, and a lot of dirty clothes. There's no toilet facilities in there, rather, laundry facilities. If you go to the, excuse me?
Laundry facility would have to
Well, let's talk about the gym area on the middle level, or the second level. You're showing a steam room. How are you going to generate the steam? Where's the steam generator going to be located?
Steam generators are these small units, probably 18 by 18. They're floor mounted. Either double, whatever type of building you want, if it's special or whatever.
So there's a wet area. Okay. Whenever I was in an area where you had a steam room, it was usually in an area that was generally adjacent to a locker room or a shower.
Yeah.
Okay? The shower is upstairs. There's no shower facilities on this level. So you're thinking people coming out of a steam room, soaking wet, have to go upstairs to take a shower. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, the way it's laid out like that. As again, if this is a house, it's your house, you can live however you want to live in your house. But to me, that doesn't make much sense. You have a massage therapy area with 2 hydrotherapy pool baths. Are those heated? Are those chilled? Yet to be determined. Well, again, if they're chilled, where do you get the ice from? There's no place here. I don't see any place to store ice. Okay, I'm saying just from a practicality, well, whether it's chilled water or whatever. But again, where does it get to do that? You have a restroom on this level. You have no restroom down on the basement, on the ground level where the basketball players are. Here again, you get a lot of basketball players, they get hot and sweaty and.
Yeah, but you look at this and you keep saying basketball players. This is for this client's use only.
No, it's not for this client's use. So I see that part of it I have a problem with is that it's a full-size basketball court with a 9-foot aisle all around it. You're gonna have more than one basketball. It's not, he's not gonna be playing in this gym by himself. You have room for 5 cars. You go down to the basement, the ground level, and you have a garage that has a 9-foot by 9-foot garage door, which tells me you can get a minibus in there. You could bring players in there. You're gonna be playing basketball in there. I have no problem with what you're doing. I'm just wanna make, it all doesn't fit to this being a residence with a basketball backboard, okay? It's more than that. And I just want it to be classified in the right category because part of my concern is you've designed a septic system. Is it a septic system for a 2-bedroom residence or is it a septic system for a 2-bedroom residence with a steam room, with massage therapies, and with a bunch of sweaty basketball players that don't have a bathroom on their ground level either? They have to go to the 2nd floor or back up to the 3rd floor to take a shower. It all doesn't, it's confusing. Okay, and I think that has to be clarified.
Yes.
Okay? Lastly, if it is a training facility or a practice facility of some sort, and you're gonna have people there playing full-court basketball, okay? Because you have plenty of room to bring in basketball players, is it classified as a residence in terms of the building code? as opposed to an assembly area, which is a different code in the building. And then there's things such as the septic system have to be designed for an assembly area. I just,
Yeah, I can tell you, I did do the research on it. It's got to stay under a certain square footage to do that, and it does. It's 10,000 square foot numbers, the key number to stay under.
but you could have, I mean, I could call this very simply, I could call this and again, I recognize who the owner may or may not be, but it is a corporation that's designed. I could look at this as a basketball camp to bring high school kids in to play. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but that's possible, okay? And we want to approve this for what its proper use is or its possible use is. And once it's approved, it just doesn't look to me like a simple two-bedroom residence. And I'm just wondering if we're categorizing it properly.
Lynn, can you give any insight to what Rich is speaking about?
Well, I think it's pretty interesting because this issue has come up. I'm not getting choked up on your application, I swear. This has come up on other applications when other people wanted to do things, not unlike what Rich is raising. And I was sitting here thinking, you got your footprint, or you got, 10,000, 11,000 square feet of stuff. And there are some engineers sitting on this board, and there are some really talented people sitting up here. And I'm wondering whether your client or the group might want to reconfigure this slightly so it doesn't just walk, talk, and quack, primarily more in this way. It's not to say, and Mr. LaRuffa is correct. You have this application, you're allowed to do certain things, and you can put big hobby shops and other things in. He's just raising the issue of maybe it would make a little bit of sense to make it look a little bit, or make it function a little bit more like a residential use with a full gym attached to it. I'm not an architect, but I think that's where you're going, isn't it?
Well, it is and it isn't, because I think in the RR zone, you can have schools or churches.
Yeah.
And it could be a basketball camp, it could be called, okay? If you
But-
want to use it, is potentially in the future.
You're right, but they're not applying for that tonight.
I know,
And-
that's
And
what
the
I'm saying.
issues that you're raising,
But that also gets you into what building code category it falls
right,
into.
and we want to make sure that that hits it too. So I don't know whether the issues that are being raised are something you can kind of scratch your head to come back with something. And I'm not necessarily even, let's see how the rest of the board does it, but the actual relief that they're seeking from the board is pretty de minimis because it's for, access for a road and some setback requirements. But you still have some of the issues that Rich is raising, so you want to respond, or you want to scratch your head a little bit first?
I'm happy to respond. So I can appreciate the board's optics. Like, I'm sure this is one of the first time somebody wants to put something of this magnitude in their single-family residence. This specific applicant is one of the best basketball players in the world, and he needs this to train. Currently, he has to travel to all sorts of different areas in order to book different times, be away from his family because he can't train at his home. This is a place for him to go. It's a place for him to train. It's a private use. That is all. I can appreciate the concern with the magnitude of this. This is what this client needs. This is a single-family residence, whether we need to add a laundry room, this is pretty schematic at this point before we go spend an exorbitant amount of money on the engineering that goes behind something like this. And trust me, this is nowhere near the minor tweaks of the closet, whether it's built in, whether it's not built in. This is a private residence, single family. We're going for a couple setback variances. He is one of the best basketball players in the world. He needs this with his cold therapy and his trainers and his massage and all these things so he can be near his family, but also get away from that when he needs to train at the highest level. So that is what this applicant is.
And then, sir, it all comes down to the variance and what Mr. LaRuffa was saying, so hopefully you'll take into consideration what he just brought up.
Absolutely, correct. This is, there's gonna be tweaks that will fit a single-family residence, whether it's a laundry room or a toilet on the first floor, or, you know.
Closets, little silly things like
Yeah,
that.
the interior finishes, those are all gonna be worked out before we go spend a lot of money on the architecture. We wanted to bring it to the board. This is a very unique situation, and this is what the applicant needs in order to continue the success in his profession. I have a home office. I go in my 12-by-12 office. I have a computer. This is his computer.
And I don't disagree with you. I don't have any problem with that. My only concern is that, is it being built under the building code for a residence or the building code for a training facility?
A residence, single-family residence.
Well, that's okay. That's part of my concern, is that,
What happens is, single-family residences only for certain types of construction, which is what you typically see as wood frame. This, because of the spans, has to be steel frame. That shifts the construction classification to a 2A or a B. As soon as that happens, I have to follow the construction code for commercial. That's the IBC, International Building Code. That's what happens.
I think you're talking to somebody who knows it like the back of his hand. Not me.
And again, part of it is the reflection on what does that do in terms of the septic system? Does that, for the type of things they're putting in here, it's not just a two-bedroom house that you're gonna design a septic system for. Does the septic system have to be bigger or different? I don't know.
I think one of the things that I mentioned on the last page of my report was the various agencies that they've got to get approval from. And I think it's going to be up, there were no plans provided for the septic system detailed drawings, but we did list the county health department for the well and the septic. And I think they're going to have to make their case as far as the gallonage produced by what their actual use is going to be and sell the county health department on that.
Okay, so that would be covered. That's my
Yes,
concern.
that'll be covered by the county health department.
Okay, Rich, any other questions?
Nope.
Go ahead, Marissa, for the other board members, please.
Michael Leondi,
No questions for me, thanks.
Richard Rohrbacher,
No questions.
Mark Scott,
Hi. When you drive up the driveway and that area is being, that's going to be, that's farmed on the left?
It's a certified commercial farm through the Sussex County Agricultural Board, yes.
And that's on, is that on lot 2 or is that on, is the same owner on lot 4?
I'm not super familiar because it's all different lots. If you just look at that.
Maybe Jason could help out on that.
It's on, so the certified commercial farm is with the existing residential home, if that helps clarify.
That's all within lot 2.
If that's where the existing home is, because 2,
Okay.
3, 1,
Got it.
yeah, so
All right.
it's all with the existing single-family residential home.
I had the same concern that Rich had about the 2-bedroom septic. We have a viewing area, we have multiple cars we can park here, and it just seems like a 2-bedroom septic is not gonna be ample, but I hear you saying this is just for this one person.
Thank you.
The scope of the facility, is there a way that we can limit the traffic, or, because this traffic is obviously gonna disturb the people at the entrance, right? The homes that have the easements. that
It's
allow-
a single-family residential structure. I'm not so sure that you can limit it because you could limit it so that it's no commercial purposes and the like. But if I decide that I'm going to have X number of people coming to my house, I don't know that if it's single-family and they're not imposing upon the neighbors or anything, I'm not so sure that you can, nor do I think you should. I think it is what it is. There are certain inherent limitations. Mr. Dykstra might be able to provide, and I'm not spotting, might be able to provide some information on how the septic would work. Maybe Jason knows this too. I don't know. But, you know, the house is what it is, just as any one of your houses are what they are.
Glenn, just excuse me, probably, I agree with Rich and what Mark's saying, the applicant's probably going to have to come back with all the notations that Rich has brought up on the plans before we even get to a vote tonight, just to let them know. That's how I feel. Go ahead, Mr. Dykstra.
Okay.
Oh, and do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth in proceedings before the board tonight's up you got?
I did.
You're Owen Dykstra, and you're a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. Your license is valid as of tonight, and you appeared here many, many times. Is that all accurate? And you would have said it the same way, except a little slower than what I just did, right? Okay.
The septic, we did soil tests on the site. We had good soil tests for installing a septic. We will have to go through the health department with regard to sizing that septic, and we'll go through that process. Be treated as a 2-bedroom, single-family home, which is what it is. Just like some people have a pool in their house, this guy has a basketball court in his house. It's not a commercial use, so I believe it will just be treated as a 2-bedroom home for septic purposes.
All right, thank you, Owen. I think Marissa Landon was the last board member.
Yes, Lana Teneri.
I have no questions at this time.
And then Mr. Dunn, I had a question when you were covering some issues that won't occur on the site. Do you remember what those issues were? Because I was mentioning potential conditions on those issues that you said won't occur when you were giving your testimony. You covered a few from.
No tournaments, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be used for private purposes, so you can put that in the records. It's for private
No.
use only, not commercial.
What other ones, Mr. Dunn?
That was pretty much the bottom line. It wouldn't be used for commercial purposes, for spectator games or anything like that.
Got those, Mike? Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
So if we were to put that, it's no commercial purposes, that goes with the land, right?
Yes,
That-
sir.
Yes, sir? Thank you.
Actually goes with the zoning, but calling it out now, Mark, is a good thing too.
And then I think you mentioned future development short of farming, gentlemen, you had mentioned?
I just mentioned that there was a question brought up by Mr. Simmons about the clearing. The clearing is the certified commercial farm, and there are plans to install hydroponic indoor gardens and things with the agricultural board's approval, and some orchards and some cows and chickens, but that is what specifically is intended for the existing home at 403 Main Street.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board? If not, I'll open it to the public.
Can I ask a question? I'm kind of public, if I can up here. So regarding your comments earlier about we might have to come back because, is it the interior renderings? You want to be more interior rendered? I'm not sure I quite understand where we fell short to limit this application for the variance on setbacks.
We'll have our expert here, Rich, say it. Even though he doesn't like to be called an expert, he is.
Like whether I add a laundry room, if the guy doesn't want a laundry room in his house, is that required by a single-family residential thing? Like if he wants to
No, I'm
wash
just,
it in a
I'm just
pit?
saying from a practical standpoint.
But that should be up
Wait,
to the
hold on.
applicant.
From a practical standpoint, if you're calling it a residence and you got people playing basketball and you got people training, you got Peloton machines and you got, running things, you got baths and you got steam room, you're gonna generate dirty clothes, okay? And you're gonna generate a lot of sweaty people. And you're gonna have, just from a practical standpoint, that the space is allocated properly for, that you have it shown somewhere. You have enough, okay? I don't even know about the code issue in terms of egress. All the egress is down the stairwell through the one door, okay? If you have a car fire in the garage, I don't know if that's gonna cause any problems, but you need a second means of egress. I don't know if the windows are operable, if they have to be operable. All of them are operable, but if you're on the second floor or the third floor, you can't go out a window because you got at least a 4-foot or a 7-foot drop with the slope good next to that unit. I don't know what the code issues are that have to be addressed. I think some of these just have to be clarified. I am concerned that when you locate when you size and locate a propane tank, where are you going to put it in the front yard there? Because that's the only place you can put it, in all practicality, to service it. What does that do with the location of the well versus the location of the storm drainage mitigation, and the septic sizing? All this stuff has to go to, you have a very cramped site on the side of the hill that you're building into. And I just think it might affect what the final layout of the site plan is when you size some of this stuff, just order of magnitude size. And I think if you clarify that, it'll finalize the site plan better.
Just take his comments into consideration, more detailed plans, what he's speaking about, and we'll have a better idea, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not at all, no problem.
Okay, Ms. Ashen, too?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you. Yeah, you can do, okay.
No other questions from the board? If not, I'll open it to the public. Anyone in the public have questions and comments, please come forward. State your name and address to our board secretary, please.
Frank Coulter, 14 Hawthorne Lake Road,
Frank, how do you spell your last name?
Coulter.
Frank, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth and proceeds before the board tonight, so help you God?
I do. So first off, we're actually not here to oppose a single-family residence, so I think you guys can all have at ease at that. But we obviously are a large adjoining property owner. And just reviewing the plans, there was a couple things that caused us concern and some pause for confirmation, a lot of which is what the board has already brought up. And, the first was that, a person can certainly buy as much property as they want. And we just happened to notice that 4 of the 8 property owners were all located in the same address. Our concern is that it was actually going to be a single-family residence, and that there wasn't any kind of future plan to develop it into a camp, stadium, things of that nature. That we just wanted some kind of confirmation or condition. Back in the 89, 90, Hawthorne Park Club was actually a very big proponent of saving Sparta Mountain. And so we have a very deep love for the area, and we want to keep it that way. So there was just some, just some confirmation and affirmation to that respect. And then also, as you brought up, just the configuration of the home doesn't look like a home to us. It looked like it could be a meeting room, a camp, so to speak. So we just didn't, to us, it didn't sit the same as to the board.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Anyone else from the public, please? Seeing no one else from the public, close back to the public hearing. So, Ms. Yatsen, I guess you've made notes of all this tonight?
Yeah, let me just, I think you'd like to see on the survey, because it's not really a site plan, but we have the survey, the proposed area for the well.
The well is shown. I'm just saying,
Propane tank, and then on the architecture, you said closets, a bathroom on the first floor, and laundry. Did I get everything? Is that what you're asking for?
and if there's other things that have to comply with where you're kicked into which building code, if there's egress issues, or you have a garage with 5 cars in it, do you need some sort of fire protection in there? I don't know.
That won't show on this set of plans, though. I mean,
No.
that's for the building department, and yes, it's gotta be a rated enclosure and everything that goes.
Okay, with the egress, because it's only one entrance in and out. I think Dave had a question on the elevator. That was just for the emergency generator. Just a little house electric elevator, I assume. Not a hydraulic elevator or anything. No.
And then, excuse me, Frank, you brought up a point, you were afraid it might turn into something. I didn't catch it. You were mentioning something that you were afraid it might turn into something else.
We were just concerned that perhaps there was some underlying, we noticed that they actually own 4 of the 8 properties. And our concern was that there might be some future plan to consolidate them and turn this into a rec center or a camp or something of that nature. We're certainly not opposed to a
I think I could
single-family
respond
home.
to that rather than even putting council on the spot, and that is, the board certainly for granting the variances and for as the application came before it, could say no, but the ordinance, I don't believe, and I'm looking at Dave, I can't remember whether the zone that this is in allows camps as a principal use or not.
In the RR zone, you can have.
In
a
the RR
school, you can have a
residential.
church. I mean, it's almost like saying, I want to build a cathedral with a rectory at the back of it. Okay?
Maybe a rectory.
Your favorite 30 parishioners coming to church, that kind of thing.
The railroad would never approve.
But
it.
it's school,
Never get that approval to go get the crossing approved for this. anything
but
like
it's, a school or a training facility is permitted.
And our point was if that is what it's going to be, we just wanted to know about it. We're not necessarily opposed to it. We just want to know.
That is absolutely not the applicant's intention. He wants to be closer to his family. He has kids, he has a wife. This is a way for him to walk 60 feet next door, train during peak season, and go to sleep and have peace and quiet with the people that support him throughout the season. That is the intention. It is a single-family home. It's going to be for his personal use, private use. It's, like you said, it's in a RR zone. I guess you can have a camp. That is absolutely not the intention. They enjoy their privacy. They want their privacy. That's where they're at.
All right, thank you, Frank. Thank you, sir.
And, we welcome him as a neighbor.
Any other questions from the board? And then Glenn, I guess what,
I mean,
I think, did she cover you, John? I'm sorry.
yeah, she
Oh,
did, but
All right,
I
yeah.
thought maybe, I mean, it seems like we just have some minor, updates to the plan set, right? Like we have to maybe show the propane tank or maybe a bathroom. It could be a roll-around washing or drying machine you could put on any floor if you want. I mean, that's the stuff. I think, would it be possible to possibly,
Board could, rather than hold this up a whole nother month, what you could do is authorize me to prepare a favorable form of resolution for your consideration at the next meeting, because they're only asking for ancillary C variance relief. The stuff that you all are talking about certainly could be a condition of the approval, but what I'm suggesting is that by authorizing me to prepare a favorable form, council goes home and says, okay, we just got to do the stuff with our architect, with Mr. Dykstra's office and Mr. Dunn's office, and they can come back at your next meeting. I'll have a draft resolution ready for your consideration. They'll do the additional nits and nats. Hopefully, they'll get some stuff to Dave so Dave can comment on them. And then if you find that everything is in order, you can vote on the resolution that night, rather than putting it off for a whole nother 30 days. And that's a way we used to proceed in some instances too. And, again, I'm not saying that the questions and the comment were inappropriate, because I don't think they were, because we have to be careful about whether it's a commercial, and you certainly gave great testimony as to why you do it this way. I mean, how many houses do you get built that are all steel trussed? And all the stuff that they're doing here. So my thought is that at least would put some time back in. It doesn't take any of the power away from you as the board in making the decision. It just tells the applicant, get the stuff, get it in, make it walk, talk, and quack like a single-family residential use with a large recreation room on the back. I don't know whether you'd be in favor of that, but that would be my recommendation.
Let me
for you
ask
to
the
consider.
rest of the members, Glenn, Landon, how do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that.
Mark,
I'm okay with that.
Rich,
We're okay.
Mike,
All good.
Rich,
Okay.
John, I know you are.
Thumbs up.
Okay, so then we'll make a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make somebody say something? No. Okay, I'll make a motion to have the board attorney draft a resolution approving application 05-24 for Main Street Creations LLC, Block 28002, Lot 3, seeking C variances for a front yard setback of 0 feet where 75 feet is required. That, I believe, is existing non-conforming. Side yard setback of 30 feet where 50 feet is required. A total side yard setback of 68.3 feet where 100 feet is required. Minimum lot frontage of 0 feet where 250 feet is required, also existing non-conforming. And a minimum lot width of 47.04 feet where 250 feet is required, additionally, existing non-conforming. we've got some conditions. I'm going to do my best. A
Thank
lot
you.
of stuff was flying around here, but execution of a quick claim deed for overlap between lots 1 and 3 in favor of lot 3. Condition of creating an easement for the existing deer fence. Verification of other existing easements being for the benefit of lot 3. Creation of a driveway maintenance agreement that sets forth that the applicant will be responsible for snow removal, and other applicable purposes. The facility is going to be used for private purposes only, no commercial uses. Adherence to all stipulations laid out in the board engineer's report, and then some additional commentary to clean up the plans. We're going to show the location of the propane tanks that support the heating systems, and revise the plan as required to locate perhaps bedroom closets and laundry facilities if the applicant so chooses to have them. And just obviously adherence to any kind of building codes, and, we'll go through the process, of course, with the construction official in town through the permitting process as well. Did I grab everything that everybody mentioned, I think? Okay.
And adherence to everything in David Simmons' report?
Yes,
Mike,
yep.
and as-built plans, et cetera, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Do we have a second?
Good.
Any discussion?
So what that's doing, I'm sorry, Rich, go ahead.
No, my only concern is if for some reason they got to shift the house a little because of the site conditions, building into the hill where you wind up with a propane tank and all the other things, does that change any of the variances that they're requesting?
The answer is, it might, but what you're doing is you're keeping it open. You're granting an approval, you're granting the authorization to prepare an approving resolution. It's not a final vote, because if it does shift the house over 4 more feet or something else, and it triggers a different variance, the board can deal with that at the next hearing. So essentially what you're doing is you're carrying this as the chairman originally was heading towards, but you're saying, let's at least have the paperwork in front of us. So if they've done everything that we think they have to do, we can vote on it that night, which is what we would be doing in the regular course of business anyway. So my point is, you're not giving anything away.
No, I'm not giving it away. I'm
No, I don't mean you, I
worried
mean the rest of the board too,
about
Rich.
changing numbers
No,
on the
right,
variance.
and
request.
this way you all can do it, get it in, so Davey has a chance to look, and anybody else on the board.
All right, thank you, Glenn. Any other comments from the board?
I just had a quick question, Glenn. So 50, 60 years from now, we're all gone, and this property is being sold. This property is being sold, and for the camp to suddenly pop up there, right? That's going to be a whole new use variance.
It'd be a whole-
new zoning thing, right?
Yep.
So there's safeguards for these people's descendants.
Right.
Okay,
It could change from somebody who apparently likes to play basketball to a professional, to a volleyball.
Or,
Jim.
or a pickleball court, or a swimming pool for an Olympic swimmer that moves into town. You know what I mean?
All right, thank you,
get it.
John. Any other comments? Not, Marissa, please call the roll, Marissa.
John Pickledy,
yes.
Richard LaRufa.
Yes.
Michael Leondi,
Yes.
Richard Rohrbacher,
Yes.
Mark Scott,
Yes.
Landon Teneri,
Yes.
Chairman Kenneth Larry.
Yes. Thank you, Marissa. Okay, gentlemen,
All
thank you.
right, so for the record, the applicant, when's the next meeting?
The 14th of August.
14th?
Yes.
So for the record, the application is being carried to August 14th. No further public notice being required.
All right. Good night.
Thanks
Now,
all.
anyone else in the public have any comments on issues not on the agenda tonight? Seeing no one else in the public having comments or issues, the board entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
People put tennis courts out.
Thank you very much.
Mike, thanks for catching all of that. The same things there, but I think you had 2 or 3 more.